Testing, testing. All right. Hello, everyone. This is Solid Rocket Future, covering the most exciting parts of human spaceflight and rocketry. Today, we are covering the OFT-2 mission, the Boeing mission. They're bringing their spacecrafts hopefully back to the ISS after some months of troubleshooting some issues with valves. Should be really exciting. Give me a moment here to unmute our guest here. And 1 second. Sorry. All right, our guest, as you may have known from previous streams, is Andrew. Andrew, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Andrew.
How's it going?
Okay, just glad to be indoors out of the heat.
Yep. Yeah, where are you right now?
I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona, getting ready for NCAA golf.
Nice.
Wonderful
And
place to visit.
How is the
Weather's
weather?
hot. Yeah, it's hot. 100 and
As
something
usual.
degrees. Yeah, we actually were on a pretty good work schedule. They have us coming in at 6 a.m. working till 2, so this worked out pretty good.
That's actually pretty
Keeps
good. Yeah, I
us.
like that.
Yeah, yeah. Don't want anybody bursting into flames out here in the Arizona desert.
Exactly. So yeah, we're live. We're excited to see. I think both of us are kind of on the same page here, where we're excited to see Starliner succeed today. There's a lot of people that
Absolutely.
are kind of hesitant about what's going to happen with, based on the issues they've had in the past. But I'm pro Team Space here. I'm pro Team Boeing today, and I'm looking forward to a successful launch and test.
Absolutely. This is, you can say what you want about Boeing, but we need this. We need Starliner up and running and working. The nation needs assured access to low Earth orbit, and Starliner is part of that. Now, they've had their problems, and NASA has stepped in and helped get that straightened out. So it's time to go fly. As they like to say, let's light this candle, let's get it going.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree anymore. And of course, we have the live stream from NASA here, and we'll be going to another view here when they show the rocket, and we'll obviously have great views of the rocket. There it is now, as we speak. It is looking good. So we'll go into our vid focus screen here. They are starting their official broadcast now for the OFT2 mission. We are T minus 59 minutes and 3 seconds actually, so just about exactly on the hour.
Yep. By the way, I have to compliment you on your new studio there.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it. I am officially moved into my studio that's not far from Starbase, and I finally got some decorations and up and everything for now. I'm considering this phase one. We'll add a couple more things, and in a tasteful manner, nothing too crazy, and we'll call that phase two. But so far, I'm happy with it. So yeah, thank you.
Yep. I'll have to start sending you stuff to put on the walls.
Definitely. I'm trying to keep it fairly minimalist, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Let's do an audio check of the NASA stream here. There is currently no audio coming from the NASA stream, so it's a bad time to audio check. But yeah, what else is going on? What's new?
Well, let's see. Besides OTF, OTF, I told you again, OFT2. Let's see what. Oh, I just saw the activity out at McGregor for SpaceX is really picking up.
Yep.
They've really picked up the pace out there. Hopefully, the factory will be coming online soon, and they'll be able to start cranking out those Raptor 2s out of the factory there.
Yeah, they're really they're cranking all the tests on the Raptor 2 engines. They had a Raptor vacuum engine test run like 6 minutes a couple days ago, which is awesome. That is a huge step forward in their progress there. If you follow the space stuff, you might see that there was a couple Raptors that exploded on the test stand this week, but nobody seems really too concerned about that. I think teams kind of think that it's pretty likely that SpaceX is pushing these to the limits on the test stand to kind of see where that critical limit is. So unless we hear any further, confirmation from SpaceX, that's all speculation. But yeah, it's really good to see that the Raptor testing is increasing, and we should be able to see a static fire potentially of some Raptor 2s as early as next week. That's kind of what people are thinking down here at Starbase. So we'll have to stay tuned and see what happens.
Yeah, it was interesting to see people's reaction when I think it was they posted a video about they had two engines go off in one day or in 2 days, I think it was. that it had rutted, and
Yep.
everybody, the us regular observers like, no big deal. They're testing the limit, and then some people are like, oh my God, they blew up an engine. It's like, yeah, that's kind of what they do there. I
Exactly.
mean, if
Exactly.
you'd seen any of the grasshopper tests from years ago at McGregor, and when they had to, self-destruct one of them, it was like no big deal. They just build another one and keep going.
Exactly. Yep. Um, it really is. The media definitely likes to some pieces of the media like to kind of over exaggerate what's happening when these things are exploding and stuff. But it's in my
Oh
opinion,
yeah.
it's all part of the process. But
Well, and that especially with Elon and SpaceX's design and engineering mythology or methodology of build, test, blow up, build, test, blow up. You just keep learning and learn and learn instead of doing theoreticals.
yeah,
You take the hardware and see what it really does. And when they say when they say a Raptor engine will go to 300 bar, they know for a fact it'll go 300 bar.
yep, exactly. Um, but in the meantime, I did bring up some information about today's launch. Let's bring that up now on the stream here. All right. So let's see what the latest updates from ULA and Boeing are while we wait for the official NASA broadcast to start. As of 1 minute ago, ULA says, tune in now for the start of today's live Starliner launch webcast. We are targeting 6:54 p.m. Eastern Time for the launch. Hatch leak checks are complete. So that's all great news, meaning that we are heading towards that T-0. An important note here is actually today is an instantaneous launch window, which means that 6:54 p.m. there is 1 second where ULA is allowed to launch or can launch. So if they run into any issues that will require investigation beyond the hold that they have already planned, then there really is no extra time to investigate. So we'll be keeping a close eye on any issues that do arise today, if any do.
Yeah, when I heard they stopped the count at 4 minutes and with a built-in 4-hour hold, that's unusual. I've never heard that long of a built-in hold, but the flight controllers wanted to take advantage of the time for catch up and make sure that there were no problems. And dealing with a instantaneous launch window, you've got to have everybody on the same page. So this is it seemed unusual to me. I'm trying to think back if I've ever heard of any other launch with that long of a built-in hold, but there's no set rules for it. The flight controllers get to do what they want, so that's what they decided to do.
Yep, exactly. And because of that, I did go through the process of getting an actual countdown clock here because the thing is so confusing. So holds and everything aside, the countdown clock that we have on our stream here today is accurate. So either it launches in 53 minutes or it doesn't. So actually, you know what? I will bring the audio for the stream up just so we can listen into whatever their intro is today. So stand by.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground.
New possibilities are opening up for scientific cooperation between countries.
2-1-0.
Liftoff. Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
Discovery, go and throttle up.
Discovery, Roger. Go for deploy.
Everybody in the shuttle program, the crew is go for launch.
Roger. Nice to be in orbit.
We have followed in their footsteps to get us where we are today.
That's a cool intro.
Yep. You're hearing it okay? Because I'm not hearing it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's fine.
You're looking live at a United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket on the launch pad at Space Launch Complex 41, where we are less than an hour away from the launch of Boeing Starliner to the International Space Station. And welcome everyone to the Kennedy Space Center here in Florida. It's a humid day, it's a hot day, around 83 degrees, but it's a wonderful day because we're launching a rocket and we've got coverage for you, live coverage of Boeing Starliner Orbital Flight Test 2. I'm Daryl Nail with NASA.
And I'm Dee Russell with Boeing Communications. Boeing crews worked throughout the day getting Starliner ready from Launch Complex 41.
All right. So it looks like they're probably going to show a lot of kind of the videos, that the montages of them getting everything ready and stuff. So we'll keep all those videos up in the background, of course. Lou is commenting and says rocket launch. Yep, Lou, that's what we're hoping for today. Thanks for checking in, and hope you enjoy. But in the meantime, while we kind of look at some of the footage and the montages they're about to show, we can keep kind of going through some of the information about the launch today. You will note that the stream countdown clock that's from the official NASA stream is about 1 minute further, but I think that's just due to stream delays and everything. So, yeah, let's see what other information we got going on.
I guess we could talk about what Starliner is.
Absolutely.
Starliner is part of the crewed commercial crew program. It's the Boeing equivalent to the SpaceX Dragon capsule. It'll be a capsule utilized to take astronauts back and forth from the International Space Station on their regular 6-month rotations. It's funny to compare the two. You know, the Starliner and the Dragon. Dragon looks very, very futuristic, well designed, all white and nice, clean suits, where the Starliner is basically Apollo on steroids. You know, it has the same basic shape of the Apollo capsule. The suits are more or less the same bulk and size. I think they went with blue. That's cool. And so the inside is going to look a lot like the Apollo command module that we watched, and also the shuttle is going to be very aircraft-like controls and so forth. So this is interesting contrast in design ideas and specialities, which is actually not a bad thing. Like I said, we need the redundancy, and having two different systems with no commonality to them is really a good idea.
Yeah. No, exactly. And SpaceX and Boeing were actually contracted at the same part of the same contract to deliver astronauts up to the International Space Station. And you might remember that launches from U.S. soil that were crewed stopped in 2011, and then since that point, we were catching rides from the Russians on the Russian rocket to get up to the International Space Station and back. Until just a couple of years ago, when it was going to either be SpaceX or Boeing first. Nobody really kind of knew until Boeing kind of started running into a few of the issues that they ran into. And then, you know, SpaceX, as we know, has been delivering astronauts to the ISS for, I think, at least a year now, if not a little bit more than a year.
It's been almost 2 years since Demo 2.
Right. Yeah. So we're approaching 2 years. And some people are kind of asking, you know, the SpaceX stuff is working so well, you know, and Boeing was running into some of these issues. Why not just stick with the SpaceX? And the reality is, you know, again, redundancy is super important. If for any reason, you know, in testing or anything, if they found something wrong on the Falcon 9 rocket, it could be grounded for a year or more, or, you know, you never really know. And I think we're all very aware that we don't necessarily want to have to rely on other countries to deliver us up to orbit nowadays. So this is a big reason why I'm so excited about today's launch, because if everything goes according to plan, then we do have some redundancy. So as you said, that's important, and that's really good.
Yeah, something I'm personally looking forward to is if once Starliner's online, SpaceX will have more Dragon capsules to do more commercial flights.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
instead of always delivering NASA astronauts up to the ISS, they might be able to use some of those capsules for some more commercial flights.
There's been actually some discussion about Boeing going and doing commercial flights also.
Yeah,
I'm
that
not
would be
sure
cool.
for how mature that is. Their systems, it depends how their systems are. But that's something that makes them money, and their company needs money, so why not?
Yeah, absolutely. We're getting some live views of the launch pad, which weather is looking maybe a bit cloudy, but I don't think that they're overly concerned about weather. The last update we got said that chances of go was 90%, which means there's only 10% chance of the weather not being good enough to launch today. So that's very good.
That angle that you're looking at there shoots out. I believe that's shooting north. Well, you're seeing clouds on the horizon as opposed to the weather right above.
Makes sense.
That's one of the optical illusions when you're sitting at those distances around the Cape. You can be looking at those long lenses, and it looks like the weather's right there, but there's really nothing there.
Right. ULA had posted a really cool website that is just kind of keeping everybody up to date with what's happening as we progress towards T-0. Latest update was at 6:05, which was just 2 minutes ago. Starliner operations have been completed, clearing the way for the blue team to begin configuring the white room for launch. This will include retracting the access board and deflating the environmental seal around the capsule. So, of course, this is a simulation as if they were delivering astronauts to the ISS today. So this includes, that white room which the astronauts would be preparing to go into the capsule. They would have already gone into the capsule. It sounds like they're going to begin with the process that they need to do to kind of retract all of, the white room and that arm away from the vehicle shortly. So things are going according to plan.
Let's see.
We got some vapors coming off of the rocket, which is a good indication that fueling is happening and or complete. I know that fueling started a couple hours ago, so I don't know if they quite finished with the fueling yet, but that is a great sign again that we are progressing towards T-0 still.
I believe they did finish fueling. Now they're just topping off and they're venting.
Makes sense. A lot of these rocket fuels will actually boil off as they're sitting there, and they just keep topping it off.
Yeah, they had to clear the blue team off the pad while they were doing the fueling, and then once they reached full, they brought the blue team back in to close out the capsule. And you can see they're doing that as if, like you said, a full rehearsal there, as if. In fact, there's a passenger aboard OTF2. Did you see that?
There is. Let me bring it up here on the stream.
Yeah.
So actually, this isn't the picture that I wanted, but yeah, there's a little mannequin in there, isn't there?
Yeah, it's oh gosh, I forgot her name already. Hold on a second, she's in here somewhere. Rosie, I believe it's Rosie the.
Oh, I do have it then.
There she is. Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, it's Rosie the Rocketeer.
Is what are we looking at here? Where is Rosie? Okay, in the background there. You can see in the red scarf, I think. Yep,
that's it.
I was like, I see a lot of blue suits. I don't see Rosie in this picture.
Yeah, she's I believe she's a, what do they refer to her as, she's a anthropomorphic test device, an ATD. So she has sensors and so forth that they keep track of the vibrations and the pressures the astronauts feel. She has 15 sensors used to collect data for sensors placed along her seat pallet, which is the infrastructure that holds the crew seat in place. So yeah, they're going to be testing. They want to see how the inside the seats and so forth handle the vibration and so forth.
Yeah, it makes sense. All important things to do before you actually put real people up in there. Make sure that conditions are safe to deliver astronauts up to the ISS. And another interesting part of this picture is kind of what you were saying a few minutes ago, where this capsule is kind of more manual control, not necessarily in operations, but the buttons and the switches and the knobs and stuff are slightly more physical than the ones that you see kind of in the SpaceX capsule. So it's a little bit older school, if you might say, but not in a bad way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's much less crowded than the original Apollos and even the space shuttle. A lot less controls, but still of that same kind of design theory. So yeah, it'll have a different feel to it, but it should be just as good as the old hardware system. Oh, yep. We have an update coming in. Looks like,
and I think we got an animation of what launch should look like today.
Ah, yes.
Of course, this is an Atlas V rocket by ULA. This is a very reliable rocket, arguably the most reliable in history of launch vehicles. Again, I say arguably, but I don't think many people would argue against it. This is we got 2 solid rocket boosters strapped onto the side of this, right?
Correct.
I'm actually I'm forgetting that we're going to actually have that on crewed launch, right?
Correct. That's besides the shuttle. That's this is the only other vehicle that used a solid rocket booster for manned launches.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to see if we see any cool like atmospheric like
the jellyfishing.
What was that?
The jellyfishing like the SpaceX, the Falcon 9 does during
Not
launch?
quite, but I'm interested in with the shape of the interstage here and how it is wider and then goes narrower and then gets wider again when you get to the first stage of the rocket. I'm
Oh,
interested to
yes.
see if we kind of see some kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? But basically just some fog around the outside as it ascends through the atmosphere.
Yeah, I got you. If you look at the Starliner on top of its Centaur second stage, you can see that there's an extra skirt that they had to add once they started when they first designed Starliner and they started mating it and doing wind tunnel testing. They discovered they needed that skirt on the side of it to prevent buffeting. So it's just a simple aerodynamic restraint keeps the slipstream going past the rocket cleanly.
Right, right. It's just really interesting looking. We don't really see a lot of vehicles that look like this. I guess the closest thing might be New Shepard, where the New Shepard is a
Yeah,
little bit wider at the top than it is,
yeah,
the main rocket body.
yeah. A lot of people ask, why do rockets look like they look? Well, basically math. That's they don't just design them because they want them to look like that. They do a lot of testing and so forth, and it ends up being just math. You have to do the calculations. And one of the lines I like to tell people when they look at the Saturn V rocket at Space Center Houston and Johnson Space Center, they ask, why did the rocket have to be so big? Well, when you want to go somewhere, you have to say where do you want to go and what do you want to take with you, and then you use math to figure it out, and that's engineering and so forth, and that's what it ended up being. So
Yep,
um, one
exactly.
thing I
It's
want,
all about
one,
aerodynamics and
yeah,
and efficiency and capability.
one thing I wanted to bring up was the RL-10 engines on the Centaur. Those engines are probably, we talk about the most reliable launch vehicle. The RL-10 is one of the most storied engines in the American stockpile of engines. The RL-10 I forget how old the engine are. They started developing that engine, I believe, back in the early 60s, maybe in the late 50s. But that's the same engine that eventually was the base design for the service propulsion system on the Apollo Command and Service Module.
Hmm.
And then that design fall through was the design for the OMS pods on the space shuttle. And then the Orion capsule and its service module uses a derivative of the RL-10 engine. In fact, the first couple of them are actually using the engines from the shuttle OMS pods. They recycled the shuttle OMS pods to use as the service module main engine.
So those are engines that have actually flown.
Yes, absolutely.
Very
Same
cool.
with the SLS, is recycling older shuttle engines after they've been upgraded, and so that's part of the recycling program. Unfortunately, a lot of that stuff being is not returning. It's disposable now, so they'll burn through those pretty quick. But that's what 246 they had left, so that's a good way to start building a program like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yep, those are RL-10 engines. They're liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen engines, providing about 24,000 foot-pounds of thrust, and they weigh somewhere between 500 and 660 pounds, depending on which version it is.
Yeah, there's so many versions of it. I think they're running now they're at the RL-10A42, I think it
Wow.
is, but that's just, we have that many derivatives of the changes in the engine. It's pretty incredible. I mean, it's one of those engines you want to have around in your fleet.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like it's done really well and has a great history. So happy to see it, continue to be used, at least for the time being.
Yep.
And Tree Finger 6 is here. Hey Tree, thanks for stopping in. How are you? So we're getting some shots of inside the flight control room, which of course is an important part of today's mission. This is a simulation, I'll say this a few times today, of delivering astronauts to the ISS. So the people inside Mission Control Center today will be acting as if there's humans on that spacecraft, and they're going to keep a close eye on how they're all doing during ascent and when they berth or dock technically with ISS. And this is a picture of Expedition 67 here, yeah? Are these the crew that's currently on ISS?
Yes.
So this is the crew that will receive OFT2 as if they were a crew shift, of course. So this is a good looking crew here.
The one of the big questions on these flights, these operational test flights, or demo flights is what's going to be the zero G indicator.
Right.
Yeah.
We last couple launches we've seen some sort of animal. We've seen an Earth stuffed animal at one point as well. I think that might have even been OFT-1, right?
That was demo 1, I believe.
Demo
yeah,
1.
That's Globy, I think was his name.
Globy. So yeah, once those engines kick off in orbit, the crew capsule will experience micro G, and anything that is not tied down will kind of float around, just like what you think of zero G.
Looks like we just got an update. The White Room operations are reported complete by the blue team. Starliner crew hatches closed, and the cabin pressurized for launch into space. That's
Very good.
news.
The crew hatch close is something that we also always see take a long time with the SpaceX launches. So I'm curious to see, as Starliner goes operational, if their process with the hatch closure is a little bit quicker, or if they have kind of more buffet time in that as well. And one more update coming through: the final clearing of the blue team from the launch pad is underway before launch in just under 36 minutes. So that is great news.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, I just noticed you're wearing a really cool shirt there.
Yeah. Thanks. This was a gift from Andrew. I appreciate the gift. Where did you even get this?
I'm going to say I found it on. I think I got it online. It was one of those things. I was just Googling, Starbase T-shirts, and that popped up. And I like kind of has that Jurassic Park feel to it.
Yeah, I was at Starbase the other day at the fire. So we have a fire, or we don't have fires over the course of the next 30 days because there's a burn ban down here. But we usually have a fire every other week, and all the creators down here at Starbase hang out and we talk. But I showed up in this shirt, and one of them looked at me and goes, "Oh, so and so isn't going to be happy about that. They wanted to make a Jurassic Park looking Starbase shirt," and I was like, "Oh man."
Well, somebody beat it to it. Honestly,
Yep.
if you look hard enough, you go to Etsy, you can find anything and
Oh,
put
absolutely.
anything on it. So, but yeah, so I've seen some of the social media tweets. They have is it a weekly fire on the beach?
Yeah, every other week, all the creators that are down here, NASA Spaceflight and all these people, get together and just kind of hang out and just kind of appreciate the community that has formed down here, which is really cool. It's my favorite part about what being down here actually is, just kind of like the community. And back where I'm from, some people are into space and you can have some conversations every now and then, but down here, it's literally everybody's talking about it. Everybody's super excited about it. There's some people that aren't as excited about it too, but they are aware of it, and you still have great conversations with those people because you like to hear both sides of what's happening.
Yeah, I'm extremely jealous of you right now, getting to live down there. I do have family, and I get to visit there as often as I can. My job keeps me away from there, but yeah, that sense of community is really, really, really touching. Especially down for the Brownsville area, they deserve all the good things that they can get out of SpaceX and Starbase, and
Absolutely.
to see a group of people come down there and come together and help inform the world, because SpaceX, to be honest, they're busy. They've got stuff to invent and build and fly, and they've taken, I want to say I think they've taken a respectful amount of advantage of the community by giving access and so forth where they can, and they know that there are people doing basically their job for them as far as publicity.
Yeah.
And informing the public. So,
Yep. No, absolutely. I completely agree. And even for people that aren't necessarily as excited about what's happening down here, the content that's being made here, the videos and the pictures and stuff, is at least keeping that group informed as well about what's happening, so they get a better, realistic understanding of what's going on here.
yeah,
A lot of these people aren't trying to change opinions with their content. They're just trying to show a true vision of what's happening down here, and people can make their own opinions based off of that.
exactly. Looks like we got Rosie the Rocketeer up on screen there.
Yep, we got some great pictures of Rosie now. What does that say? To the moon.
My screen's too small. I can't see it.
Yeah, maybe it looks like some names, maybe.
Yeah.
And we got great view of the Boeing flight suits.
Yep.
Royal blue flight suits. The logo for the mission today, I really like it. I really like today's logo.
Oh, the OTF2 patch.
Yeah, I'll have to bring up a picture of that.
Yeah, that is. It's a very cool logo. The OTF1 was cool too, but I think they hyped it up a little bit for OTF2. That's something some people may not be aware of why they were calling this an OTF2. There was an OTF1. It flew what, a year and a half ago now.
2019.
And 2019. Oh lordy, that and they ran into some problems. And like I said before, they've definitely NASA stepped up and Boeing has stepped up and helped get this working. So it's great to see them flying again, or getting to fly again. The valve issue they had last year was a real head scratcher, and they're still trying to. They're confident they have the problem controlled. They're just trying to, as they should, as NASA requires, they need to go back and find the root cause and learn from that.
Yep.
So that's what they're doing now. So.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, of course, that's an important thing to talk about is what happened during the last attempt of OFT2, which, was months ago. And some checks on the vehicle prior to launch showed that there was a problem with, I think at the time it was communicated as one or two valves not showing as they should. And then on further investigation, I think it was at least half, if not 3/4 of the valves had the same problem.
13 valves. Yeah, 13 valves ended up being moisture getting inside the valve and reacting with the hypergolic fuels, which of course caused it to corrode and sealed the valves basically.
Right.
And there's, like I said, they're still trying to figure out why that one happened that way, because they've been, people have been launching for Florida for over 50 years, 60 years now.
Yeah.
And dealing with the moisture there in Florida, and have this one happen this way. Like I said, it was a big head scratcher. But what they did is they swapped out the service module from the next flight, from would be Crew 1 for them, and put it in place, and it tested out fine. And I haven't heard anything about it specifically yet, but I have to assume that they haven't any problems since they haven't announced it.
Yep. No, exactly. I know they've made some changes. One of the simplest changes that they've made, but I'm sure there's many more, is, so I saw a picture today of kind of some of the thrusters on the outside of the vehicle, and in OFT1, those were basically just wide open during all the preparations and the rollout and the countdown, but it looks like they have some sort of, I want to say paper, I'm sure it's more advanced than paper, but some sort of cover on those holes now, until they're actually used. And I assume at that moment they're actually just blown out. But very simple fix to a very complex problem. I'm sure there's a lot more fixes that they've implemented, but
yeah, the
shuttle had one that I noticed.
Yeah, the shuttle had the same thing. They basically had a heavy duty, I believe it was a mylar paper, I guess that's referred to, that covered all the RCS thrusters on the orbiter. And you could always tell when at the launch of a shuttle, because they had that close up of the main engines firing, and then the thruster set on the tail of the orbiter the paper would break up, because you could see it breaking up. And yeah, that's the simple way of keeping the moisture out of the valves.
Yep, exactly.
And it may be that it's just, like you said, it wasn't on OTF1. Maybe it was just as simple as that.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll hear more about it. Though I do sense that a lot of these things that we may have heard about, details, like maybe in the 60s and 70s and 80s, I feel like a lot of those details aren't being as publicly made available nowadays. There's been a couple things recently where like, oh, there was this issue, I can't wait to hear about the details of how they fixed it. And back in the day, you would have heard about those. But as of late, it seems like we aren't being as transparent with those types of things. So
well, it's the modern media and kind of controlling the message as opposed to just putting it out there. And NASA has its rules about passing on information. They're a publicly chartered agency, and so they're chartered to inform and educate, and they by law have to give out all this information that may or may not look good. As a private company like Boeing, they may be protected a little bit by it, but I'm sure a good reporter could find out all that information we need.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I even saw some documents that were requested through the Freedom of Information Act, and they come back just completely redacted, just all redacted.
Wow,
that's interesting.
That is different.
Yeah. Yep. Some good videos here that we're getting back from NASA of some of the preparations that ULA and Boeing have went through. Now we're showing an animation of the docking process that will happen, but always great footage from these streams. So props to
Yeah,
NASA on that.
something that looking at seeing the animation of the Starliner docking the space station, you can start comparing it. I'm always comparing it to something else, everything else I've seen. And of course, it's shaped much differently than, say, the Crew Dragon. The Crew Dragon is much taller and slender, as opposed to with the Starliner and their service module, very short and blunt, and kind of a stout-looking rocket. But they all do basically the same thing. And something some people will ask about, well, why don't we send Dragon or Starliner to the moon? The Dragon and Starliner were both designed for low Earth orbit only, and for 6 months stay duration on the space station. They're not designed to be out for longer than a week or a week and a half.
Yep.
I think with emergency margins, that they're both supposed to be able to take care. The nominal mission, you'd have a docking within a day or two, and then in theory, after undocking, you want to land within 3 to 4 days. And they generally, like we saw in Crew 4, they delayed. Excuse me, not Crew 4. When we saw the delayed departure of Axiom 1, where all the commercial astronauts paid for 8-day stay and end up staying 14 days because they don't let the crew undock until the weather is good. They don't put them out there and then hope the weather gets better.
Right.
So there's a limited lifetime, and mostly it's the shelf life that they worry about. How long you can have a vehicle parked on the space station and be ready to go. That's one of the most important things. That's just one of the things that the Soyuz is famous for, being able to stay up there. They've actually had some up there 8-9 months. They don't try to do that anymore, but they have done it before.
Yep.
Looks like we get an update. Fuel fill sequence is underway. The procedure releases the RP1 kerosene fuel into the RD-180 main engines in preparation for ignition. So this, I think, sounds like an equivalent of the chill down that SpaceX does,
Yep.
where they pre-cool the engines.
Yep, exactly. This is yet again another good step indicating that things are moving forward, and that likely Boeing is not, or ULA are not, experiencing any issues that they're working. This is a step I wouldn't have expected to see if they had any issues that they were working. So good indication at T-minus 23. Ooh, we just got a big update here. Atlas launch control at T-minus 4 minutes and holding, with 20 minutes remaining in this built-in hold. Countdown continues to target a liftoff at 6:54:47 p.m. Eastern Time. So not only is this an instantaneous minute, this is an instantaneous second window.
Okay.
2 solid rocket boosters, dual engine Centaur, leaving the pad on 1.6 million pounds of thrust from the combined power of the engines and solid rocket boosters. Spacecraft separation is expected at T plus 14 minutes and 54 seconds. So after liftoff, at 14 minutes and 54 seconds, we should see the spacecraft separate from the upper stage. And in the meantime, if anybody has any questions about today's launch or anything space in general, please feel free to drop those in the chat. I've actually been keeping an eye on the official NASA live stream chat as well, just to see if I see any interesting questions pop up in there.
Looks like they have the two astronauts, NASA astronauts, will be flying their Demo 1. I'm sorry to say, I do not know their names. I'm embarrassed to say that.
Let's find out.
Okay.
Boeing Crew 1 astronauts. Could this be Butch Wilmore and Mike Fink?
Yes, I believe so. I've heard, yeah.
I see another list here. I don't think either of those are Chris Ferguson. I think I know who Chris is. Because based on my knowledge, I think there was a group of 4 that they were going to pick the 2 from. And these must be the 2 that have been picked.
Yeah, I know they were NASA was shuffling some astronauts from the Boeing side over to the to the SpaceX side, mostly just because they were trying to keep the rotations going. They don't want to, when there's delays, you don't want the astronauts hindering their careers by having to wait that long, and so you want to keep people in the rotation. They also have to remember they've got a group of astronauts that are tagged to be the Artemis astronauts, and they want to get them trained and get them experience, because they'd like to send they don't necessarily want to send all rookies to the moon. They want to have everybody have experience. It's always good to have an experienced crew for that first trip back to the moon.
Yeah, I would imagine there's it's at some point in the process of selecting the astronauts for Artemis 1 and selecting the astronauts for Crew 1 for the Boeing capsule. I would imagine at some point in that process there's probably overlap of candidates. So, as you said, though, at some point I'm sure they would have made a decision which astronauts they want to go forward for Artemis 1, and then also their backup crew, which would potentially take them out of the pool for this, because this is a mission that you don't want, quote unquote, rookies on either. You want some pilots that have some experience that can make quick decisions. This is a test flight. This is not a operational. This isn't an operational capsule that's delivered astronauts to ISS dozens of times. This is still a test flight of this vehicle. So when they do launch crew, they'll want some experienced crew on board. Looks like we're looking at weather now. Let's tune in, actually, get some audio from the stream here.
41 and a 10 nautical mile ring around the pad that we're concerned about in terms of weather. And the one feature that you'll notice here, this squiggly line, that's actually the leading edge of the sea breeze pushing in, and that can often be a trigger for showers and thunderstorms in the summertime and late spring, as we're in right now. But notice really nothing going on across central Florida, and that's all thanks to those high upper level cirrus clouds really limiting the stability in the atmosphere. Nice. So we remain go for weather, and a 90% probability of remaining go as we head into T0. Yeah.
That's very good. The only two concerns I have were a cloud rule, and I missed the second one, but so weather is still 90% chance that it's going to be good enough to launch, and we're currently still go for launch, which is very good.
Yep. Let's see here. I'm trying to find liner spacecraft.
In the meantime, I got this cool animation of them building out the, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Them building out the capsule that will be launching today.
Yep.
This includes drop testing. This includes crew escape testing. And this is the video of OFT-1 launch.
Interesting. I just was reading their once they crewed, the first crewed flight for Boeing will be a CFT, which I'm not sure what the Boeing CFT crewed flight. There it is. Crewed flight test.
CFT. Got it.
Yeah, CFT.
That's what they're calling it.
There's CFT. They're actually, because Starliner 1 would be the first operational. Barry Wilmore and Michael Fink are the two, but there's a third TBA. There's a third position. So they may be flying 3 on this flight.
I know Sonny was kind of involved at some point.
Sonny is actually the commander of the Starliner 1, the first operational mission. That's why they had a press conference with her and Barry and Wilmore and Michael Fink today. And yeah, so it's interesting that maybe they will be doing a crew rotation of 3. It looks like, for the certification test is 3. There are 2 astronauts for Starliner 1, Cindy Williams and Jeanette Epps, and then 2 more TBAs, which, like I said, because of the delays, they've been shuffling crews between over to Dragon, and so I'm sure they'll be backfilling that pretty quick once they get this OFT-1 or OFT-2 successfully flown. Then a lot of wheels will go into motion, and they can start making plans for it.
Yep, exactly. Very cool. We're actually getting a great view off the side of the booster right now. You can see it's very cold. There's cryogenic fuels going into that launch vehicle. There is some ice built up on the long side of the vehicle, something that is expected. You continue to see this view is actually from the Starliner mission control. So this is Boeing. Boeing's mission control for this mission here. You can see the Boeing stickers on the back of all their monitors. And where is Boeing mission control based out of? That is the question.
That is a good question. I don't know. I would assume it's probably there at the Cape. But that's an assumption at this point, at least the launch control.
Confirmed, it's at Kennedy.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw this, but coming up on the live updates, they just put up a map of the viewing, the Atlas 5 OFT 2 launch visibility. And that might be interesting to look at. You can put that up and see.
Is that on the same update page?
Yep. It just updates it's the second update at the top. It's a satellite picture of the eastern seaboard, and then the circles on it. Yeah.
So through Florida, you should be able to see it within 150 seconds of launch. And it looks like up through Georgia and South Carolina and North Carolina, you'll start to see it up through 270 and 300 seconds to launch. Yep. It goes up right to kind of looks like Wallops Island area, Wallops Island, Virginia, at 330 seconds from launch.
Yeah, it looks like it might even make it up into, is that Rhode Island?
Not on this map, I don't think. That's got to be Jersey, I think.
Oh yeah, okay.
Or
Maryland,
Delaware.
Yeah.
That whole area.
Pretty good. Yeah. It's a 6. What about 6? What time is it over there? I'm still stuck on the
Eastern time. It is 6:39.
6:39.
14 minutes from launch.
Yeah. So the sun is starting to go down. So that'll be a good angle for lighting up the rocket plume as it climbs.
Yeah, so we might, as you're right, we might see that kind of jellyfish.
Yeah, that's interesting. Maybe it's just the frequency of launches from SpaceX that the jellyfish has become such a visible marker of the launch of the Falcon 9. And the shuttle was launching at one point 10 times a year, and I don't remember those kind of effects. But of course, there was a different fuel. The shuttle was liquid oxygen, liquid hydrogen, where the Falcon 9 is RP1 and liquid oxygen. So, and maybe just the difference in the exhaust.
Yep, definitely. I think that could be a part of it. I'm seeing. Yes, this is Florida. I'm seeing some interesting questions in the NASA chat. It's funny to see the public get excited about some space events again, because you get a lot of people that haven't really been exposed to what's been happening in the industry over the last 10, 20 years.
Oh yeah.
And it's really apparent in the type of questions that are asked. But obviously I'm very glad that those questions are being asked.
Oh, absolutely.
It's it's apparent that a lot of the United States citizens are just not quite up to speed with what's happening in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. They one of the things that I end up doing a lot at Space Center Houston during my volunteer time is just letting people know that the U.S. is still in space. There are people who thought, well, the shuttle went down, or shuttle program was shut down, so that's it. We're not in space anymore. I said, no, we've had astronauts flying. We've had International Space Station for 22 years now, and we're still flying. We just happen to be flying on somebody else's rockets, but now we're doing. But it's the latest renaissance in the space world, and it's I'm very glad I'm alive to see it. To be totally honest with you, because having lived through the Apollo era and then the shuttle, and then kind of the dark times waiting for commercial space to come online. Now it's everything and anybody can fly.
So cool. It's so cool. It's amazing that we're seeing this resurgence, and we get to have another generation, multiple generations of people inspired by what's happening today with all the stuff that's happening. U.S. launches are happening again, and we have development vehicles like SLS and Starship, and it's just so awesome to see all this stuff. And then you have like crazy rockets that you would never expect to see, like Neutron, that will be developed in the next couple of years.
Oh yeah.
It's just really cool.
And Dream Chaser is one of my favorite designs when it was up for the crewed flights, and I thought I was really disappointed that we didn't get a Dream Chaser, because why not have a capsule and a winged vehicle, an aerodynamic vehicle? Talk about redundancy. but I guess the design just wasn't mature enough, or they couldn't make it all work. But now that Dream Chaser is going to be doing resupply missions, it makes it a viable manned option at some point in the future. And
Right.
Sierra Nevada has talked about developing the manned version on their own and doing commercial flights, which I think they're attached to several of the new commercial space stations that are coming online in the next 10 years for both cargo and manned.
Right. Which is really cool to see. You know, we might see the end of the International Space Station sometime in the next decade. So it'll be good that there will be replacements for that before the decommissioning of the International Space Station.
Yeah, the kind of questions I get when I'm volunteering, you know, they run the gambit from, you know, where are the rockets? I want to see the rockets launch. I said, well, that's over in Florida, and this is Houston, and we do training and astronaut training and mission control. And then you explain to them, and then I had a young lady who stumped me the other day asking me how fast were the Apollo command module when it came home from the moon, and I'm like, oh my God, I never thought about that one, never heard it. So I had to go look it up, grab Surrey, and it was 25,000 miles an hour, which happens to also be the speed you need to escape Earth's gravity too. So it's the magic number, 25,000 miles an hour.
Right. Crazy stuff, right?
Yeah.
We're just about 10 minutes away from launch here. So as the teams continue to kind of work towards launch, I'm going to start kind of bringing in the audio of the stream more often here. I assume we'll hear from mission control. So let's start by listening in now.
It could really get out of there pretty quickly.
See what we hear.
Yeah, that's right, Lauren. And I just heard the command get given to start the crew access arm retraction. But that crew access arm rotates 120 degrees back to the crew access tower. It takes just under 2 minutes to do, but it can be redeployed in about 15 seconds in the event of an emergency. With no crew aboard, we won't see anything like that today.
All right.
There it goes.
And we do want to let you know that after liftoff, Dylan will do the flight dynamics from here in the ASOC. Then Brandy and Josh will continue their commentary from Houston through Ascent, spacecraft separation, and the orbital insertion
Chris,
burn.
Thanks for the
we also want to let you know today that we are updating our internal camera system on Starliner to have more live views inside in the future. But for today, we'll be able to watch cameras on the rocket. We will also have live telemetry feeding back that will provide us with a real-time look at a spacecraft model that we will be able to take a look at and know exactly what's happening with the spacecraft when video is not possible as it moves through the dynamic phases of flight. So we are coming up on L-10, getting very close here, and we are now waiting to hear the next call, which will be to verify that Starliner is on internal power. And we were going to listen into the loops for just a few seconds.
Sounds like we will hear the polling from the launch teams here next. That's the next big step.
L-10 minutes.
Oh, I love that you explained that.
L-10
Flight
minutes.
verifies TST 100 on internal power.
And Starliner
Verified.
is now on internal power.
Oh, it ain't a flying card. Now I'm gonna giggle to myself.
Today is an instantaneous launch window. You may be sometimes used to seeing that the time of launch can shift a bit, but not for us today. We have a launch window that we have to go right on the dot, and that is because we wait to launch till the orbital path for the ISS aligns up with the Space Coast and with Central Florida. And then once we get up into orbit, Starliner essentially plays a game of catch-up with the space station. It just works to catch right up to it and eventually reaches the same speed of more than 17,500 miles an hour.
Yeah, one of the questions I get a lot of times is how long does it take to get into space? And amazingly, it's 8 minutes. That's the standard length of time is 8 minutes, pretty much just for manned launches. I know there are commercial or unmanned launches that sometimes go a little slower, some go a little faster, but that's specific to those payloads. So, and their orbits too.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like, that's one thing I like to kind of explain when I'm doing presentations at like schools and stuff, that, you know, it doesn't take long to get to space, and space isn't far away. I did one presentation in eastern Massachusetts, and one of the big, like, kind of touristy vacation spots is, I forget if it was Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard for my example, but basically I was like, you could get, if you were going the same speed, you could get straight up, you could get to space faster than you could get from here to Martha's Vineyard or something, and that kind of blew everybody's minds that space is actually so close. It's just so hard and
Oh, yeah.
expensive to get to.
Well, that's part of the overview effect. Once you get up there, you realize the atmosphere that keeps us alive is
We are
very,
8
very
minutes to
thin
launch.
compared to the rest of the universe, and we need
Yep.
to take care of it. It's like the crew access arm has been stowed, and they're
Yep,
standing
yep.
ready, standing by for Paul.
We got a live update from.
All right, and we did hear on one of the other loops that mission manager.
LC arm control. Go ahead. First step 260. Crew access arm stowed for launch. Roger.
And
That's
that
what we
call
just heard.
indicating that the crew access arm is now stowed and latched for
LC
launch.
switch to ready position. All steps are complete prior to the status check.
So we're going to listen in now to Chief Launch Conductor Doug Lebo poll his team.
Polling is underway.
Coming up in 10 seconds.
Let's listen in.
L minus 7 minutes. Status check to proceed with terminal count. Atlas systems, propulsion. Go. Hydraulic. Go. Pneumatic. Go. LO2. Go. Water. Go. Centaur systems, propulsion. Go. Pneumatic. Go. LO2. Go. LH2.
Go.
Has gas. Go. Electrical systems, airborne.
Go.
Ground. Go. Facility. Go. RFFTS. Go. Flight control. Go. GCQ. Go. Op support. Go. Com. Go. Umbilicals. Go. Arm control. Go. ECS. Go. Redline monitor. Go. Quality. Go. Op safety manager. Go. ULA safety officer.
Go.
Vehicle system engineer. Go. Anomaly chief. Go. Range coordinator. Clear to proceed. Flight director. Houston flight is go. Launch
Yes.
director.
You have permission to launch.
Nice.
Proceeding with the count. ALC, verified T0 is set for 22:54:47
That's
Zulu.
good news. That's great news.
Verified.
Yep, we should see the teams come out of that planned hold in about 2 minutes, which will leave us with L minus 4 minutes until takeoff. So that's about 5 minutes and 48 seconds from now. There still could be
6 minutes. I'll just tell you that we have executed
checks on range and weather and stuff, but I think we're looking pretty good here. In my opinion, I think we're going to see this thing take off here in the next 5 minutes.
It feels like a go day.
Every mission and every countdown is unique and exciting, but the ULA team is absolutely thrilled to put Mighty Atlas
Unless
back
there's,
on this human space flight.
hope the cruise ships are all tied up to the moorings real well.
I heard that what is it, Space Force 45th Division, the people who are in charge of range have made some considerable changes to their communications to like the port and how they handle all that. So based on my understanding, I think that might be an issue of the past. It sounds like they're really kind of tied that all down.
That's glad to hear, because that was just one of the most senseless scrubs that I've ever seen, was because of due to a cruise ship leaving the dock at the inappropriate time.
Yep.
L minus 4 minutes and 45 seconds. All steps are complete prior to terminal count.
All right.
And Lauren, with that call, that all of the work is now complete, and the computers are going to take over the automated countdown at T minus 4 minutes, coming up in here in just about 30 seconds.
L minus 4 minutes and 30 seconds.
Just a beautiful shot there.
Easy day down there.
Mm-hmm. Is that a helicopter they're using, or is that a drone? That's interesting.
I would imagine it's a helicopter. It's probably further than it looks.
One of the camera positions they use for just about every launch is the top of the VAB, which is, of course, on the north side of the complex up in the NASA area. But the building is so tall that you can get a great shot of just about every launch platform, all the way down to the Canaveral jetty.
Right.
Ground system ordnance has been enabled.
We have just passed that T minus 4 minute mark, which means the crews are out of that hold. Really good to see that countdown clock counting down past 4. That is a good indication. Now, if there was to be any holds from now at this point forward, that would mean a scrub for the day. But I'm with you. I think today is a go
hydraulic
day.
to flight pressure.
Atlas's hydraulic steering system has been pressurized for flight.
The maturity of the Atlas 5 is one of the best things they've got.
Yep.
3 minutes.
3 minutes to launch.
Securing LO2 topping.
ULA is a little coming up next. Graphic had me spooked there for a second.
Topping of liquid oxygen in the Atlas.
Like coming up next, and I'm like, wait a minute, no, we're gonna watch this launch first. We can't go to something next.
Oh man.
The part you want to hold your breath, but if you do, you pass out.
I'm going to take our countdown off the stream here and just leave the countdown from the official stream up. That way there's no confusion. We are at T-minus 2 minutes and 25 seconds. Atlas 5 is looking good. It's interesting to see it with the white paint, and it's not just like the copper look to it all the way up. Or is that just the frost?
No, it's most of that's white. It's for heat, but the lower half of the Atlas 5 is still, I believe, is a
159.
stainless.
Vehicle internal.
155.
Launch sequencer start.
150.
Securing Centaur LH2.
Securing Centaur LO2.
Centaur hydrogen and oxygen are now at flight level, and topping is being terminated.
140.
Launch enabled.
137.
Launch enabled.
Yep, that's good. That's a go.
FTS arm. $120.
OCU's armed.
SCS count started. EDS Ascent.
EDS armed and ready means the emergency detection system is now armed.
1
and
minute.
that basically just means
Rock
that if
report
it
range
detects
status.
something, it will
Range
trigger the
green.
launch abort system on Starliner and fire
54.
automatically. The
PLP
spacecraft
started.
would push itself far up and away from the rocket. We're talking a mile up and a mile out in just a matter of seconds.
Range
We
is
certainly
green,
don't
which is good.
expect to see that today.
40 seconds.
40.
Atlas at flight press.
$30.
30 seconds.
Centaur at flight press.
Vehicle is now pressurized for flight.
25. Status check.
Go Atlas. Go Centaur.
Go Starliner.
Go
All
Starliner.
systems are go for liftoff.
Right.
Go Starliner.
Successful launch here.
10.
Let's go.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Starliner is headed back to space on the shoulders of Atlas, powered by a workforce dedicated to its success.
See a nice thick smoke trail there from the solid rocket boosters, something we don't see too often nowadays.
Epic timer on Starliner.
Atlas executed its roll program.
Already ready is now
engines are
throttling
added
down to
put the
maintain
crew in a
acceptable
heads-up
dynamic
position if
pressure
we
on
had
the
crew on
vehicle.
board today.
This is the first planned throttle down for Atlas in preparation for max Q.
Max Q, maximum dynamic pressure on the vehicle.
Everything continues to look good.
Right now, atmospheric forces are the highest Starliner Atlas will face during the uphill climb.
The solid rocket boosters are about to burn out and decouple.
Mach 1, Atlas 5 and Starliner are now supersonic. Vehicle now throttling up.
Up next in about
Engine
20
response
seconds,
is looking good.
Starliner's 2 solid rocket boosters will run out of fuel and burn out.
Great sound from the Cape today.
Yeah.
That was a good audio.
Yep.
And we have burnout on both SRBs.
Good crew module forward link connection.
Already ready is throttling back up to full thrust.
Now that we pass the solid rocket booster burnout, you'll soon see those 2 solid rocket boosters separate from the vehicle.
Atlas V now weighs just 1/2 of what it did at launch, burning propellant at a rate of 2,800 pounds per second.
Good SRB sub.
And we have indication of SRB jettison.
Looks good.
Atlas continues to ascend using solely the RD-180 engine. That's about 850,000 pounds of thrust at sea level.
So of course we'll have first stage burnout and separation. We're about 13 minutes away from all of the major events that we'll see on the stream here today, and we'll see we'll see spacecraft separation here in just about like 10, 11 minutes.
Yep. Flying at an altitude of 56 kilometers.
Our next throttle down will be to control acceleration forces, limit forces on the crew to below 4 Gs. That is safe for an extended period of time.
And you can see those exhaust plumes expand as the atmosphere pressure around it decreases.
1 minute remaining in this burn. 1 minute to BECO. RD-180 is now throttling to maintain 3.5 G acceleration on the vehicle.
Starliner flying off the east coast at this point at altitude of 80 kilometers now, moving at a rate of 1,187 miles per hour.
It's just passing North Carolina and Virginia off the northeastern seaboard. For those of you watching along the coastline, you might be able to see this launch.
And for the U.S. people, that's about just over 300,000 feet in altitude so far.
And we have BECO, booster engine cutoff.
Separation.
We have successful staging. Pre-start on the RL-10s.
Stage 2 will continue to take it up into its desired
We have ignition
orbit
on both
over the
RL-10s.
next 9 minutes or so, 8 minutes. And of course,
Centaur's now gone to closed loop steering.
Just
The teams
several milestones.
don't have a video download at the moment, I would imagine.
Ascent cover jettison there. That provided that
And we have
aerodynamic
aerosphere
structure to
jettison.
the top of Starliner, protecting the docking equipment during ascent.
The cool part about these animations is that it's based off of the data that is coming back from the spacecraft. So this is not a pre-recorded animation or something that they built. This everything we're seeing on this animation is directly from the data coming back from the spacecraft, which is cool.
Yeah, it beats the heck out of the, back in the Apollo days, the network spent a lot of money on recreating visuals during launch and even like translunar injection and so forth. And it was kids, we'd like, how do they get that video? Oh my God, how do they get those pictures? Oh yeah, they paid actors.
One of the launch providers should go back and do that just for one launch. Like maybe when Artemis launches for the first time, they'll put some throwback footage in there or something.
Now 6 minutes into today's launch,
One of my favorite
Starliner
things, people,
to accelerate up.
when I tell them we're going, hey, we're going back to the moon. You ever heard of Artemis? And one of the things is Artemis is Apollo's twin sister, so it's appropriate that the program's called that. But and one person's like, no, that's not Artemis. That's like Fred or something. No. Check the Wikipedia. I don't think Fred was a god. It was a Greek god.
That's funny. That's really funny. Yeah, I think they really appropriately named that program. That is really cool.
Yep.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they need another name for SLS. We'll see what they end up on, and I'm hoping it doesn't turn into the mega moon rocket, which the administration is kind of pushing.
Yeah, they keep hearing that mega moon rocket thing. I'm like, yeah, it's not as. Granted, it is more powerful than the Saturn V. It's not quite as big as the Saturn V, so you got to pick that name. But as soon as SpaceX launches Super Heavy, we'll have a new winner.
Yep. Next big
Centaur
Event
pressures
is the
are stable.
cutoff of the second stage
Centaur
engines.
looks good.
And we're about 6 minutes away from spacecraft separation.
Flight control teams are also monitoring the performance
Well,
of
it's
the
obvious at this
sublimator
point they
on
haven't got
Starliner
the
right
timing
now.
error they had before with the mission duration clock being out of sync. Otherwise, they'd be talking about that at this point.
Yep, that is a really good indication. But the true test starts when the spacecraft separates from
correct
from the rocket here.
Yeah, that'll go when it'll go on its internal systems.
I'm curious what their plan is for the duration of this live stream. I'm sure we probably won't be...
We heard confirmation that St. John's abort zone is open. We pre-select these splashdown zones in the case of any needed aborts. The first one would be off the coast of St. John's, Nova Scotia.
They're just discussing if this was a crewed mission and they needed to abort, that their next abort opportunity is open and available. But yeah, I'm curious what the stream plan is. I don't know how long that they're planning on keeping the stream going after spacecraft separation. But you know, when the stream does end, you'll be able to find all the updates on Boeing, and I'm sure ULA's updates will have some as well, and of course NASA's updates will have the most information.
And 50 seconds in.
Andrew, I
so
just
that's,
noticed
still
something,
about 3 minutes to go
and
until we
there's a
hit that
map
milestone.
of ULA shows where all the parts from Saturn or the Atlas V goes to or comes from, are manufactured. Yeah, and funny enough, the booster adapter and Centaur adapter fabrication are done in Harlingen, Texas, just up the road from you. Yeah,
That's
they're
cool.
out at the. I remember seeing that Boeing or ULA having a plant down there when you fly commercially into the Harlingen Airport. So
Yeah,
just a hangar in the side there.
You're totally right. I briefly forgot about that, and I actually had met somebody at a place up the street who works there, and I was talking to him about everything. So I'm gonna have to talk to him about that. That's really cool.
Yeah. So SpaceX wasn't the first one to build rockets in the Rio Grande Valley.
Yeah, ULA is down here.
Now, one of the next calls that we will hear is that the Shannon abort zone will be open. Now, you can see on your screens that Starliner is making its way up the North American coast, just starting to go into the Atlantic Ocean, northern Atlantic Ocean. We pre-plan our flight trajectories, so we would not abort a crew into the middle of the ocean. They'd be near enough to land for quick and speedy recovery. So we're still in that St. John's abort zone. Expect to hear that Shannon open call coming.
And we just heard that call. Shannon now open, so Starliner could potentially make that abort landing off the coast of Ireland now if needed, but so far no reason to think it will be. Starliner currently 153 kilometers above the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, and that's about 95 miles.
Now, my question is there a permanent crew out in Shannon that is prepared for these types of missions, or is there a team that's based in Ireland that goes out during these events, or do they ship somebody international from the States or something into Ireland for these missions? I wonder.
That is an interesting question. Back during the shuttle, they would fly crews out to their abort sites. They would have hardware and so forth left in place, but the crew would go out in advance and prep it and be there for launches. Actually, when I did from 87 to 90, I was doing 91. I was doing launch support out at Edwards Air Force Base, and we were considered part of that. Abort once around was one of the abort modes, so we had to be prepared for that kind of thing. And they would send some crew from Edwards, either going out to, I believe it was, it was Senegal. Was one of the shuttle landing abort sites. I'm trying to remember the other one was.
To shut down is coming
I
up.
have to go back and refresh my memory about those, but those apparently were considered hazardous duties sometimes. Of course, the shuttle was just landing on a runway where the capsules will have to do splashdowns in the water, and so you'd have to have marine vehicles to go out and get them. So, not sure. That's a good question for ULA.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Being in the room
Yeah,
that
that's
it was a
interesting
good
to know about
mission
the
and will
shuttle.
separate from Centaur
Or if is
booster
it
and
maybe
fly
a
on its
Boeing? That
own.
may actually be a Boeing requirement because ULA is just the launch vehicle, and it
Yeah.
has anything to do with crew, it'd be Boeing.
Even after that
Very
happens, we'll
true.
have about 15 minutes until our final major milestone
Looks like
of
we
the
have
day
a
is Ascent, the orbital
successful
insertion burn that will
second
raise the
stage
perigee,
cutoff.
or low point of Starliner's orbit out of the Earth's atmosphere.
The next big
So
thing is
stick with us,
spacecraft
we're not done
separation.
yet.
So basically, up to this point, ULA, the launch provider, the one that builds the rocket that is under the spacecraft, has done their job, and the real true test is coming up when the spacecraft separates from the rocket, and from that point forward. No surprises that the rocket performed well today. It seems to always do that. It seems to always nail its orbital insertion. The questions that people have about this mission is what happens from this point forward. So we'll keep an eye on this first stage separation here in the next couple minutes.
Pressures in the tanks are stable, and it will be able to conduct a proper disposal burn later. Flight control teams here in the room are moving to their insertion checklists.
And so far, I think today's stream is going well too. I think our
60 seconds to spacecraft set. Centaur
new
has now
setup
achieved its separation
has been
attitude.
working. I have a couple notes down for the next stream, but so far so good.
Just under a minute now to go until the launch vehicle separation. But the team here on the ground reporting that Starliner and Centaur are both ready for it in the right orientation and on a stable trajectory.
"30 seconds to Starliner separation."
Centaur is holding attitude for Starliner separation. 10 seconds to separation.
And we have confirmation of Starliner separation.
Excellent.
Very good. So now it's all in Boeing's hands.
And Starliner is flying alone on its way to orbit.
Confirm LV separation.
Confirm good LV separation. Thanks, ULA, for a smooth ride to space. And thank you, Dylan, for your help on that Ascent commentary.
Now let's see if they tune us into what the plan
That
is.
milestone behind us, the next one we'll be watching for is that orbital insertion burn. That is going to raise the perigee, or the low point of Starliner's orbit, out of the Earth's atmosphere, putting it in space for its full orbit. That's an important milestone to reach. It's going to be a 45-second burn. It'll change Starliner's velocity about 85 meters per second, or 190 miles per hour. And that's going to be coming up at the 31-minute mark in today's orbit. We're now just under 16 minutes into today's flight, so still about 15 minutes to go for that.
So there's a number of things that flight controllers are working on right now. They're transitioning Starliner from its launch mode over to its orbit mode. That includes powering up things like antennas, heaters, and those radiators that I mentioned earlier.
So the Boeing teams are keeping the stream updated with what kind of things the spacecraft is currently doing. Next major milestone, as you might have heard there, is a little bit off from now, 15, 16 minutes, I think they said. How are you feeling? Do you want to take a break and come back in 10 minutes, or do you need to head out, or what do you want to do?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I can stay. If you need to take a break, I'll just listen in, and if anything comes up, I'll bring it out. I'll say something.
Cool. Well, you know what? I will.
More
I'll take
of them
a 30-second break,
during,
and I'll be right back.
power descent,
Okay.
but we don't need some of those right now, so flight controllers are powering some of those down. But some other things that are powering on include those propulsion line heaters. When in the vacuum of space and in the Earth's shadow, it gets quite cold, around negative 250 degrees, so we want to make sure those propulsion lines don't freeze. And the radiators are those little small silver discs you might be able to see on the side of the service module. If you remember your high school physics, the only way you can get rid of heat in a vacuum is through radiation. And so that sublimator will be powering down, and the radiators will be taking care of the heat management for the rest of the flight until we get ready to come home. Some things that you also might be seeing on your screen are some RCS jet activations. Those are just helping the target for that orbital insertion burn. And at about L plus 23, the team will transition Starliner into what's called fine pointing mode, or thrust align mode. So those jets that you see firing will hold a very specific attitude, which is exactly the attitude that we need for that orbital insertion burn, as Brandy mentioned earlier. We want that 85 meters per second of delta V to be going in exactly the right direction. And so the colors you're seeing on your screen,
Right. The colors you're seeing on the screen are indicating Starliner's track right now. Starliner is currently coming up on the coast of Europe and is about 224 miles, 139 miles, 224 kilometers above the Atlantic Ocean as it makes its way to the topmost or the highest part of this orbit. It'll be
all right.
Heading southeast over Europe and a little bit of Africa in the next few minutes as it begins its journey to start catching up with the International Space Station. Again, one of the major milestones coming up in preparation for that is the orbital.
Looking ahead a little bit, based on a on-time launch, which they did do, docking is currently scheduled to take place on Friday, May 20th at 7:10 p.m. Eastern Time, and NASA will cover that.
Very good. Awesome.
Just a little over 24 hours to docking.
Maybe I'll do a stream for that.
Okay. That's some of the most exciting, boring television ever, watching a docking, of course.
I know. I'll have to double check my work schedule, but maybe I'll.
Confirmation, we still have a good forward link command connection.
And for anybody watching that hasn't watched us before, thanks so much for joining. My name is Andrew. Joining me is also Andrew. And this is Solid Rocket Future. We cover the most exciting parts of human spaceflight and rocketry. So on this channel, we like to cover flight tests, new launch vehicles. We do a lot of Rocket Lab, Astra. We'll be doing SLS stuff. A lot of updates on Starship. I'm based down here at Starbase. You can find all of my stuff on Twitter, @rocketfuture, or just go to rocketfuture.org. Where can they find all your stuff, Andrew?
Let's see. I'm AParisX on Instagram and AOParisX on Twitter.
Very good.
I need to step. Somebody just knocked on my door. I think it's my brother. Hold on a second. I'll be right back.
Absolutely, no problem. But thanks everybody for joining us so far. If I do a stream tomorrow, I will post on my Twitter.
Yeah. Having a small family reunion here in the Phoenix area today.
Nice, nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say you need to say Solid Rocket Future now live from Laguna Vista, right?
Yep, exactly. That's a good point. I also kind of want to write a 2 or 3 sentence mission statement for the end of my streams as well. That's something that I want to formulate.
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah, a little tagline out. Yeah, you definitely need that. So yeah, all that's left now is the final orbital insertion burn, and they'll be good.
10 minutes or so.
Yep. Trying to find a good timeline. The ULA timeline left stopped after.
That makes sense.
after separation.
So we're about a minute away before the flight controllers put Starliner into its thrust align mode.
Here we go.
Once again, just making sure that Starliner is pointed exactly at the right attitude for that orbital insertion burn. It's going to hold that attitude.
2 minutes ago, Boeing posted the launch and ascent phases for Starliner OFT-2 are now complete. Coming up, orbital insertion burn. More at starlinerupdates.com. So let's check out that site. This looks like based on what I'm seeing, I don't think this is a live updating site.
Which, as Lauren said,
is kind of a refresh situation.
But
yeah, that's on their part of their yeah, this is not a real time.
Yep.
But they do have a link to the Twitter.
Yep, I'll keep an eye on their feed here, and I'll show it when there's any updates. I got all these panels for the wall behind me, and I just stuck my hand in one in the freaking adhesive, and it stuck on my hand. But the funny a point here to point out that these panels are about roughly the same size as the actual panels on Starship. So they're a bit bigger than you would imagine, and you can see my hand up compared to one of those. It's quite a bit bigger than a hand.
Yeah.
Hey, Brandy, thank you very much. Yes, joining me now is NASA astronaut Sunny Williams. Thank you so
much
for being here, Sunny.
Yeah, there's Sunny.
It's great to be here today. And I know you've been following along. I've actually been able to see you from my perspective up here. I saw you in the moment of liftoff. You had your game face on. What was going through your mind at that moment?
Yeah, just for a quick moment, I'm going to turn the volume down and just let people know that Sunny is as we stated earlier, Sunny is currently scheduled to fly on the first operational mission on Starliner. That's what you said, right, Andrew?
Correct.
So after the next flight test, Sunny will be commanding that next launch.
I'd like to be sitting inside of there. So, you know, unabashed to just imagine what it will be like for the next launch when we have people riding in Starliner and this Atlas V being a human-rated rocket. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we heard the guys earlier saying they were jealous about Rosie.
Absolutely.
Well, just a few months ago, we were talking about how much confidence you have in the Atlas V rocket. And what made you say that?
Yeah, you know, we've been here a couple times watching launches, of course, not only for Starliner, for OFT the first time around, but also for other payloads that have gone up on the Atlas V. And, you know, they're pretty expensive. I told my mom at one point in time, if they're putting that expensive payload on top of that rocket, I feel pretty good about that. And I know the team, I've been here, talked to a lot of people who have worked on this, you know, this rocket, both here, Decatur, for example, as well in Denver. And I understand the engineering, or at least I tried to understand the engineering that goes into this complex machine, and you know they are A+ you know people doing just such a great job. So I know that their hearts are with us and ready to launch humans into space.
Well, we are waiting for that orbital insertion burn. It is a very important milestone for Starliner. What are you watching for here?
Yeah, we just want to make sure that, you know, that burn goes off without a flaw. We get circularized around the planet, and then we can all take a deep breath and let the spacecraft fly for a little bit and get ready for the rendezvous profile for the ISS. So I think that is really what we're waiting for, just to make sure it's going to happen correctly, which, you know, all indications are great. The spacecraft is working well.
Now, Sunny, I see you at the office quite often. I see the guys at the office quite often. You guys really have worked closely with the people who have their hands on this spacecraft day in and day out. What does that relationship mean to you?
It's huge. Like I mentioned, during the days leading up to this, I really was just thinking about the teams, all of the hard work that they've gone, you know, into getting the spacecraft ready to go, as well as getting this rocket ready to go. I know ULA has done a lot of work leading up to this after the last attempt, and this relationship is so key. I feel like I just want to stay committed to them to make sure that we get to the finish line with getting people to the International Space Station.
Take out the audio from the stream for a quick second just to point out that they have some really cool graphics that they're showing us here. They just went full screen a second ago. But I think people who would play Kerbal would find these very familiar to them. We have
Absolutely.
what looks like kind of like an artificial horizon, but I assume that there's an extra axis in there somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And then We got a couple visualizations of what the spacecraft will be looking like right now in its current orientation. They just went full screen with that again. Let's see what kind of information we get on here. We get X, Y, and Z. I don't know most of what this is. We got some attitude statistics.
Yeah, I see the X, Y, Z. Oh gosh, I can't see that well enough. There's a lot of information in there to be dealing with. I'm sure there's some of it has to do with an attitude they want to hold and a time to see if we can find a countdown clock somewhere on there to the burn. But you're absolutely right about Kerbal.
3 minutes and 18 seconds potentially on the top left.
Okay. Yeah,
that sounds about right.
Yeah. Yeah, I've recently upgraded my MacBook, so now I think I can get back into Kerbal.
Nice. The second one has just been announced to being released, I think Q1 2023, I think I heard.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
Yep. So I'll be definitely doing a couple Kerbal streams when that comes out.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing how popular Kerbal is across the board, and still every once in a while I'll talk to a NASA engineer or flight engineer, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I love Kerbal. It's the best thing. We can practice with it all the time."
Yeah, it's real math. It's real physics. It's a different scale than our solar system, but it's cool. It's a really exciting tool to get, especially kids into space and science and stuff. I know so.
Oh yeah,
so
absolutely.
Many people.
I think I finally understand orbital mechanics a little bit.
Yep, exactly. Yep. We're going to continue to see a lot of footage from Boeing's mission control here now that ULA has done their job. We'll also see a lot of video from NASA Mission Control Center as well, because NASA and Boeing will be working hand in hand here to make sure that their crew, in the future, if this was a crewed launch, will get to the ISS successfully, and they'll be in touch through that whole process. I think we're probably just a couple minutes away here from the next burn.
Minute and a half until the orbital insertion burn. Starliner is in the burn attitude. You might have seen earlier the nose of Starliner might have been pointed down towards the Earth, but that's actually the attitude that it needs to be, because as it orbits around the Earth, it will no longer be pointing at Earth. It will be pointing at that specific point in space that
actually, I just saw it
the orbital
over. I
insertion
think this
burn
is from slightly earlier
will
during the
send us to.
countdown. They did confirm they set the mission elapse clock timer, MET.
And once again, there'll be a lot of thruster activity.
Correct, which was their biggest. That was their first problem on the OFT1 flight. I'll get that right one of these days. OFT1.
OFT1. Yep. So that's a real good sign. That is one of the big problems that have been addressed.
OMAC standing for orbital maneuvering and
Yes,
attitude
I
control.
was really impressed with the media stepping up coverage in the last few days, and there were several really, really well done articles about how this was going to be a make or break day for Boeing, and they really needed this day to go well, and so far it has. I'm sure there are a lot of smart, hardworking people at Boeing, and they want to get this right. So they got their chance, and now they're proving it.
Yep. No, absolutely. I couldn't agree more, and I hope to continue to see success in this mission.
Yep.
And I think we're just moments away from that next burn.
Orbital insertion burn starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, this burn is going to last for 45 seconds.
Yep. Confirmation.
Teams here on the ground reporting 4 good orbital maneuvering and attitude control thrusters.
Very cool graphics. I like this.
Yep.
And you can see that green line. That is some sort of data that indicates the orbit. It is being raised right now, as we can see.
Controller. Those jets are mapped to. We have 3 IPCs, integrated propulsion controllers. OI cutoff in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we have OI cutoff.
All right, they're in orbit.
Very good. It looks like the vehicle has a slight roll, yaw, tilt. I don't know what it is, but very likely to be expected.
And we have confirmation from Flight Director Mike Lammers. We have a good orbital insertion
massive
Starliner
reaction control burns, reaction control motors firing, trying to get it in the right attitude as a result of the missed timer from last time.
This was a big hurdle to get through early on. We have a few demos to go on our way to the ISS. And then after that, hopefully a very good docking. But so far today, good launch, great performance from ULA. Atlas even gave us a little bit more of a push than we needed, but Centaur was able to adjust accordingly, place Starliner exactly where we needed it. And we have confirmation of a good
don't realize
aliver.
sometimes you can
Once
get
again,
too much performance
Starliner
out
is
of
in
your
orbit, heading to the
booster
ISS.
and you need to be in the exact place you expect to be, otherwise it becomes a problem.
Exactly. Yep. So it sounds like they were just a little bit overshot on the performance, but they have enough margin to address that.
Start pretty much right away with a checkout of the Vesta systems.
Looks like the spacecraft is
VESTA stands for Vision-Based Electro-Optical Sensory Tracking Assembly. They're basically sensors that take measurements that Starliner uses for relative navigation. Starliner has 2 of them, and each contains 4 systems.
Yeah, it's nice to see that old orbit track map back.
Yep.
The SpaceX doesn't show those kind of things, so it's kind of tough to see where things are.
True. Yeah. Good point. So we'll listen in here for a couple minutes to see what if they say how long that the stream is going to be going for, and then we'll make a decision. And I will just either keep the stream up with the NASA stream in the background, or we'll drop, or we'll see what they say.
Radiator activation.
Okay.
So those radiators are now in control and controlling the thermal environment inside the cabin.
See if there's any updates from the Boeing. 2 minutes ago, Starliner's orbital insertion burn is successful. Check with NASA.
And going back a little bit, just to help you guys learn a little bit about Starliner, going back to those IPCs, that blue, green, and red is what propulsion controller each of those thrusters are mapped to. So if you think of the flight controllers like the brain of Starliner, the IPCs are kind of like the nervous system, translating kind of those commands into movement.
I really appreciate this technical detail.
Exercise those.
Yes.
Throughout the flight. Next up are a couple demos, but I think for now
it can sometimes be overwhelming, but sometimes it's better to have more info than not enough.
That's right. With that last milestone safely behind us, we're going to say goodbye for the night. The Starliner team here in Mission Control will be monitoring continually as Starliner makes its way towards.
Well, Andrew, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, I had a blast. I love coming on here and talking space.
Yeah, absolutely. We always appreciate having you. That was a great stream. Looks like a really good start for Boeing, but they have a solid 24 hours ahead of them that they need to make sure that goes well. So all those updates you'll be able to find on on NASA's Twitter. I'll try to retweet as many of those things as possible, and then we'll make a decision about whether or not we'll do another stream tomorrow for docking. But yeah, I think that's all I got. Andrew, do you have any last minute comments for anybody, or you want to share anything else?
Was very glad to see Boeing and Boeing up and flying. Like we said many times, we need Starliner, and it's good to see finally spreading its wings and hopefully have a good docking with the space station tomorrow night and get operational.
Absolutely. Cool. Thanks everybody for joining. Thanks for the comments, and if you're just sitting in the back and watching as well, thank you so much. Appreciate all the support. Again, this is Solid Rocket Future, covering the most exciting parts of human spaceflight and rocketry. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.
Right now, Starliner is about 118 miles above the coast of Africa, heading towards the Indian Ocean.